Hello, everyone, and welcome to a little bit of this and that. I'm joined by my co host from Queers and Soaps, Tommy. Hello, Tommy. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Great. I'm glad you could be here. Doing well. Gay blessed. Even though my
Very
week,
much.
even though my weekend was I traveled this weekend and I wasn't gay blessed on Friday, but I was gay blessed the rest of the weekend. So we are talking about our coming out stories.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, we come from two different parts of the country. That I you come from a more accepting part, I'm sure, whereas I come from a little bit more like gay, run, you know.
Yeah, but I think you'd be surprised, even though the area that you live in could be more accepting,
Mm-hmm.
your family and friends may not always be. Like everybody
True,
has
true.
different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter where you are.
Okay,
Um,
so we'll just start out with like, how did you know when you were not straight?
oh boy. All right. I gotta paint a picture.
Yay!
So let's start at the beginning.
Ooh, let's rewind that reel.
So my mother had me at a very young age. She had me at 15 years old. So
Oh, okay.
my grandparents raised me. But I grew up with my mom around. She lived in the house that I lived in. But she was more of a sister than a mother,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. At least that's how our relationship always kind of was until I became an adult. Um, but as a result of her getting pregnant so young, I was kind of overprotected. Wasn't allowed to do anything. Wasn't allowed to go over people's houses unless the parents were there. I had to talk to the parents to make sure they were there. So it was just so much rigmarole. I just was like, forget it, I'll stay home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I watched a lot of television.
I did too. We had very similar childhood then. The TV was my
uh,
best friend.
my early childhood memories, besides cartoons, were like 90210, Saved by the Bell, Mickey Mouse Club. And it
Hmm.
was around that era that I started to be attracted to some of the leading men.
Okay.
Um, Greg had mentioned something. He was like, "You were that kid that like wanted to be the Disney princess, but not because you wanted to be the princess. You just wanted to be the girl that was with the prince." And I was like, "Yeah, that's
Oh my
accurate."
god, that's me. I remember like being young and watching Power Rangers, and remember I loved Tommy and I
Yeah, so
loved
did
Kimberly.
I.
But the reason I think I loved Kimberly because she had Tommy.
Well, like going back to 90210, I didn't hate Brenda. I guess you could say I wanted to be Brenda because she got to kiss Luke Perry. Like my earliest crushes are real like Luke Perry and like Marpole Gosselaar from Saved by the Bell.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't know what gay was. Like I didn't know that word. And my earliest memory of hearing that word was in second grade. And it was the first time that I was called gay. I guess that shows how much it affected me. I remember when it happened.
But yeah.
And I didn't know what it meant, but because of the way it was said, I knew that it was perceived to be bad.
Hmm.
So of course, as a child, you're like, I'm not gay. Like, why would you say that? um, and then of course, I found out what gay meant, and I know I've said this to you before, but when you're a kid, especially a teenager, you think you're the only one, and you laugh and said, "It's funny how you lived in New York and you thought you were the only one." But you're not talking about it with other kids, like, "Oh yeah, I'm gay. Are you
True,
gay?"
true. Hmm.
Like, especially then, it wasn't as accepted as it is now. We made major strides. Um, and then I remember on junior high, I started dating girls because again, didn't know anybody that I knew of that was gay. Although I did meet my best friend Kyle around that time. And I thought he might, but we weren't going to talk about it at 12 years old. So I kind of had it in my head, I'm just going to push it down. Maybe it's just a phase. It'll go away. If I don't talk about it, I'll just date girls and I'll fall in love and I'll get married. which I feel like a lot of people have done, and that's why they're in the olden days. A lot of gay men got married and had kids, and
And then they download Grinder and they hit you up in your DMs and they're like, "Oh no, I'm married, but I want to be like, I want to be with you." No, you want to be with me in the bedroom, not be with me. Not that I know that from many, experience.
I wouldn't say that I was bullied per se, but I did get, on occasion, a fag thrown at me or gay.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say I was popular, but I definitely fluttered around from group to group. I was nice to everybody. I didn't go out of my way to be mean to people. And I think subconsciously it was because I was trying to build a shield around myself. That if everybody likes me or if I had a group around me at all times that I would be protected. And I guess that kind of worked to my favor because I never got into any fights, like physical fights. And like I said, like, I guess I was bullied, but not any more than anybody else would be bullied for being like a nerd, for having glasses, for having braces. Like it was more on that level. I wasn't like afraid to go to school. I was never like hiding because I didn't want to run into a bully. So I guess I was lucky in that aspect because that's not everybody's story.
No, I have a similar story. Like people didn't like technically pick on me, but I can remember the people who'd be like, "You're gay," or would say things like that. I'm like, yeah, and it has stuck with me through my childhood.
Sixth grade. Why would you say that?
And I remember sixth grade, someone be like, "What are you gay or something?" Because I hung around with a lot of girls, but I felt safer around girls because my whole family was pretty much females, so I understood that, and I just got picked on. If I got picked on, it was because of that. Like I didn't play sports. I just didn't like sports.
I didn't play sports per se. Like in elementary school.
Oh yeah, I played them.
I did like t-ball. I did soccer for a couple of years. Middle school into like the beginning of high school, I was on the swim team, but that's about it.
You did more than me. I did baseball and basketball. When I remember I ran the wrong way one time. I didn't realize they didn't tell you switched at halftime, and they're like, "Go the other way." It's like, okay.
I actually like baseball, but that's actually how Kyle and I met. Kyle's only 4 months older than me, but because of the way he was born at the end of December, so I guess the cutoff for the school year or whatever, he was the year ahead of me, even though he's only 4 months older than me. But 7th and 8th graders for gym, they shared gym and lunch, I think. So that's how I met Kyle. We were in gym, waiting online to bat because it was baseball time for gym. And I noticed he had a Spice Girls t-shirt on.
You're like, "You're my best friend."
And I was like, "You like the Spice Girls?" And he was like, "Yeah, why? You want to fight?"
It's like, no, we're best friends now.
And I was like, "Oh my God, I like them too." And that's what I mean. Like, there was a connection there, but we just weren't saying it. And we ended up letting everybody cut us online for baseball. And we've been best friends ever since.
See, even as a little kid, I know I didn't play with your typical male toys. Like,
neither did I.
I had a vacuum cleaner. My mom was like, "That's all you wanted that year. You wanted a vacuum cleaner." It's like, huh. Like, I had an obsession with vacuum cleaners as a kid. I don't know what it was. I always, like, when I played house, I was always the one wanting to clean. My cousins would be like, "Oh, let's play house." I'd be like, "Okay, I'm going to organize." So, but
I didn't have anything like that or like an easy bake oven.
I didn't have an easy bake oven, but I should say that's why I don't cook. I should have had an easy bake oven. Maybe I would have cooked. That may.
You know what I always did want though? I wanted the boys' version, the creepy crawlers oven.
Oh, I did too. I remember I always wanted that, but I think it was we were too scared of I might not do it properly or something because it was we had, fire. We know I can't cook. So, but I do remember I remember I didn't get picked on so much at school, but by people I knew. like
Oh, really?
family or family's friends.
Really?
Because I'd always been, I didn't know that I was different. You know, back then we used to say, oh, he's different.
Mhm.
But like, I'd been called queer, fag, gay, sissy lala is one. I don't really know what it means, but that's what some of my mom's friends like had called me when I was little. And that one hurt because I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I was like, can we not?
You don't know what that means, but you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. As a kid, I remember being like, I'm offended, but what the hell does that mean? You know. So I'd always got like that. I didn't get bullied so much as people trying to tell, like, ask, "Are you gay? Are you this? Are you that?" I have been asked, and I would never say no. I'd never say yes. I would work around it because I never wanted to lie. I didn't want to lie. I could work my way around. Like, if he said, "Are you gay?" I'd just be like, "Why does it matter if someone's gay or straight?" Like I was doing that before everyone was like, "Why does it matter?" I just remember doing that a lot. I had got asked that around.
I did get asked that quite not often, but if I wasn't being called gay or fag, it was are you gay? And I'd be like, no,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
So
or
yeah, I would never. I'd just be like, and just I'm sure my facial expression was like, yeah, that's the But I worked this job at one time, and some girl was like, "So are you gay?" I was like, "Why are you asking me that? I'm just here to do a job." So, but I was in a theater. I worked on this theater production once, and I was kind of jealous of those kids because they could be themselves, like they were unique, and they didn't care if someone thought they were strange or different. They didn't care. But someone ran up to me and was like, "Do you like vagina or do you like penis?" I did not know what to say. I was like, like you didn't know. Like a lot of people don't know, didn't that. It's hard for them to realize I was really shy before I came out. I didn't like attention. I didn't like to talk. Like I wanted to stay in the shadows so that no one recognized me and wouldn't call me gay or anything. Because I was like, I live in the South.
yeah,
I was like, I don't want to end up on TV as a hate crime.
gotcha. Yeah, well, going back to what you said about not playing necessarily with boy toys, like I had my boy toys. I had Ninja Turtles, I had Power Rangers, like
Oh
I was
yeah, I
into
had those too. Mm-hmm.
but if the opportunity ever came up, if it was going to somebody's house or if it was like in kindergarten or first grade, I always went to play with the Barbies. Always.
My sister, I sometimes she'd get toys that I would just be like, man, I wish I could have something like that.
And even like my Power Rangers, like this is how you know I was meant to love soap operas because I used to make up little dramas and I used to make
me
like the
too.
boys and girls kiss. And, like,
They were never saving the world. Like I was shocked.
they were going out on dates and
Yeah,
like
we had my Power Rangers had a spin-off series. It's like what happens after they've saved the world. There was a little Jason Kimberly love triangle and with Tommy, so
I may have done that storyline too.
so
And like I remember going to McDonald's and you know how like whatever toys they were giving out at the time, there was like a boy toy or a girl toy. And I remember kind of hunching down in the back seat, hoping that I would get a girl toy. And sometimes it worked.
well, the girls had they had like the Disney stuff.
I know. I remember once they had like these wind up like mermaid toys, like
Yes.
and I wanted that, so I hid in the back seat and I got them. I got a few of them.
So yeah, that's similar. So when did your family find like when did you well, hang on, before we get to that, I remember one time, this is why I was always afraid to come out. My dad, when I was 17, who my dad has not really been a part of my life whatsoever. He's trying to more now. I'm just kind of like, I'm 30, but all right. Well, 30-ish. Okay, I won't lie. But he had called our house to talk to my mom, and he pretty much just was like, Aaron's gay, right? And it like broke her heart. Like I came home, she told me that she was crying, like really upset. And I was like, oh my God, I can never tell my mom. My mom's never gonna know this part of me because I was,
Wait, your dad outed you? Who
I,
wasn't a part of your life?
yeah, no, he had met me a few times. And I guess
Uh-huh.
by based on meeting me, him and his gay friends were like, Aaron's gay. And I was like, you had no right to do that to my mom. So I just kind of that was the one time I said no, I'm not.
Oh.
And I felt so bad for lying, but just I saw how she looked. I was like, I can't do that to her because it was my senior year of high school, and
Oh.
I I may have like kind of dated one girl, but we didn't. That was like seventh grade. It wasn't really dating. You're just like, you want to be my girlfriend, boyfriend, da da da. And
Yeah, well,
yeah,
I
so
dated what you consider dating in school from
yeah,
like sixth grade, I think 10th grade, like you're just holding hands and like
yeah,
going to dances together, going to the movies together. Like,
yeah. Because
um,
I never wanted to date a girl. Like my fear was I didn't want someone to fall in love with me, which I'm like, I was in high school. What, you know, you don't really know what love is. It's like, no, I don't want to date a girl because what if she ends up loving me and then I break her heart? She gets upset. Da, da, da. Like had all these reasons to not like just live a life.
you know what you just made me realize I used to do? When I realized that a girl started to really like me and was like in love with me, so to speak, that's when I'd be like, we have to break up and I like move on to the next girl. Just so we wouldn't have to have sex.
Oh, see, in the South, it's easy to fix that. We just say like, I'm waiting till marriage.
Oh.
I use that for that's why I was like, oh, that's why I'm not having sex. I'm waiting till marriage. And it worked. Like that was what worked because, you know,
Well, the last girlfriend I had was 10th grade. I was on the swim team and she was like one of the student swim coaches and she was a senior.
ooh.
Um, Flash forward, she's a lesbian now. On her third wife, I believe.
How you go? Get it,
So
girl.
we were kind of each other's beards. Um, we're actually, I wouldn't say we're good friends, but we run into each other from time to time because she does theater and Kyle does theater. So like, we just laugh. We're like, oh, we dated in high school.
Remember when we used to be like straight?
And plus, I like really wanted to go to senior prom when I was in 10th grade. So I was like, but yeah, so that was like the last girl I dated. I I just remember senior year kind of feeling more confident, not ready to be like flat out say I'm gay, but senior year was like a weird year for me because I only had like a half a day of real classes. And then I was going to like BOCES, like technical school. I don't know if you know what BOCES is. Maybe
I
that's just
don't.
everything. It's a technical school where you do like a trade or whatever. You could do like mechanics or like CNA nursing or
Mhm.
dental assisting. And it was offered to me at the end of my junior year. So I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. Maybe I'll try that. Here I am 18 years later, still doing the, still in the dental fields. Um, So I kind of felt like I was already kind of half in the real world because now I was out at a different school. I was meeting kids from other schools already. And I kind of got it in my head, all right, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to go to college and I'm going to meet other gays. I'm going to join like a LGBTQ like club and I'm going to meet other gays.
Was what I thought was going to happen to me, and fast forward, it did not. I spent 5 years in college, no one like knowing I was actually gay. I didn't ever tell. I didn't tell anybody.
Really?
I didn't come out till I was 24.
Oh, wow. I thought I was a late bloomer.
Like I'm very envious and of the kids today that feel like they're comfortable enough to come out. Not envious in like a bad way. I'm just like, man, I wish I would have been as brave as you to come out as like do not be afraid to come out.
Um, I
Because I
think
don't
after graduation, I started to tell some of my friends that I was bi. And I know that I used to say this, and I know it's not PC and didn't age well, but I used to joke around that bi was the gateway drug to gay. Like that's just something gay guys said to like make it more comfortable for everybody else.
And at least you'll admit that it's wrong. Like we know that's not true.
Yeah. Because there are bisexuals. So there are people that are truly bisexuals.
And
I used to joke around that bisexual is not real. That's what gay men say to make everybody else around them feel more comfortable.
I think in the South, a lot of people do that. Like when I was in my dating world, some of the older men I would talk to would be like, well, I'm bi. And I think it was because they didn't want to they never
had the stigma of gay.
Yes. Like they didn't ever have sex with their wives or anything. I was like, so you're just married to this woman and you don't have sex with her. You don't have a romantic type of relationship. You're just married. It's like, I mean, I'm not saying he wasn't bi, but I was just the way he was describing. I was like, you were scared to just say you're gay because I understand there are bi people.
And then it was like the fall after I graduated high school, and I found a little show called Queer as Folk.
Ooh,
on DVD.
I remember
and
we didn't have Showtime.
I was like, wow, this is what being gay is like.
We didn't have Showtime, but it could pick. Remember how channels used to kind of pop up, but it have all the lines. I remember watching Queer as Folk a little bit like that, going, "Oh, I wish I could see what was going on."
Like porn, like 90s staticky TV porn.
I was so desperate for any kind of gay content. I was like, I wanted gay content. Like, it didn't have to be porn or anything like that. I just wanted to see other gay people on television.
Well, at this point, I think 3 seasons of that show had been out, so I was able to buy it on DVD. And this was back when I used to just, like, on a whim, buy things on DVD, not even knowing if I liked it or not.
Yeah, I used to do that. That was a risky game, too. It's like, this is $50, but what if I do like it? Then it's worth it. Right? If you don't like it, and then you try to sell it again, you're like, I paid you. You want to give me $2? I paid 50. Yeah.
But yeah, I just remember watching that show and how like raw it was, and like I was like, wow, this is what gay is.
And it doesn't represent all the gay people because I'm not like. I don't party really. I was never that kind of.
I did always like to dance, but I had never really been to a gay club. Mm-hmm. And after I give that show a lot of credit because I felt like it gave me some courage to kind of like move forward and just be like, fuck it, I'm coming out. And I remember for my 19th birthday, I had asked a friend of a friend who I knew was gay to take me to a gay club for my birthday. And it was just me and him. And we just went. And within a month, I was like, I'm coming out. Oh, and surprisingly, I didn't even realize it until like years later, but I came out during Pride Month.
I'll tell you my coming out story in just a minute.
So technically, the only family member that I told was my grandmother, who raised me. Mm-hmm. We went full circle. And I just remember I wrote it down on a piece of paper. And I had it in my hand and I was shaking and I started to cry. Aww. And she's like, what's wrong? And I said, I have to tell you something that I'm afraid to tell you because I'm afraid you're going to hate me. And she was like, I could never hate you. Like, just, tell me what it is. Like, why are you crying? Like, if something's upsetting you, you should tell me. And it took me a little bit. It took me maybe like what felt like an hour, but it was probably only like 5 minutes. And I just kind of handed her the paper that said I'm gay. And I just remember her, she wasn't angry, maybe a little confused, maybe a little upset. But she just kept saying, how do you know? Mm. And I said, I think I've always known, but now I'm just trying to be open about it. And she was like, well, how do you know if you've never had any experiences? Now, I've been going to the club now for a month. Granted, I was prude. I never went home with anybody. I never took anybody home, never did anything in the car, never did anything in the bathroom. But now, my defenses went up. So I got nasty. And I was like, I do have experience. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said something, oh, I can't even believe I said this. I said, what do you think the backseat of a car is for? So the first 6 months were a little rough. She and I butted heads a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But she came around pretty quickly, and I never told my grandfather, but he knew.
Yeah.
Because at some point, I had a couple of boyfriends that lived with us. He always used to say, your friend. Oh, your friend. Does your friend have to go to work? Like, your friend.
It's interesting now, like, because down in the South, we have this perception of New York City as just being a certain way,
I'm not in the city. I'm in the suburbs.
Well, but still, that's around New York City. You live in the city life.
I'm still an hour and a half away from the city.
That's closer to me. But your friend, I always think that's so funny when they're like, well, how's your friend? And sometimes they whisper it. I don't know if that how's your friend? But I remember I used to, when I was younger, when we'd watch TV and anytime there was gay characters on, if they kissed or something, sometimes my mom and sister would go, ew. And it just like hit me the wrong way. And I was like, I can never tell them, oh my gosh, they're going to think I'm gross and disgusting and all of that. And then I'd have like certain relatives be like, ooh, like if my eyebrows were freshly plucked or something, they'd be like, oh, did your boyfriend pluck your eyebrows? I'm like, no, I did it myself. So there was just all these things that made me scared to tell. But then at 24, I was in grad school, and I finally got the courage to tell one of my friends. But I had always done stuff with my mom and that to try to like get her to ask, because I was like, well, maybe if she just flat out asks me, I can tell her. And we'd watch stuff together because we were really close. Like I remember in 2009, Prayers for Bobby came out. And I thought maybe if I have her watch this movie with me, it'll change her perspective of certain things. Because that movie was very impactful. Have you seen it?
I haven't, but I think you and I had the same thought process.
Okay.
Because I actually did have my grandmother watch Queer as Folk, and I would just like walk out of the room during the sex scenes. I would go get like a snack or whatever.
I never went that far.
And she was like, oh, this show is good. I was like, oh yeah, you almost forgot that they're gay, right?
But at 24, I'd finally got the courage. I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. So I'm sitting there texting with my friends. And I was like, okay. They're like, you can do it, Aaron. It's fine. It's going to be fine. I was like, okay. The weather was on, and it's interesting. My mom joked. She's like, "You ruined the weather." I was like, "Mom, I'm gay," and I do this thing where when I'm nervous or it's a weird situation, I awkward laugh, or I'm awkwardly smiling. She's like, "So you just think this is some kind of joke?" I'm like, "No, no, no," and
now you're laughing.
Yeah, it blew up, and then next thing I know, she's like, Googling, like, I guess why I was gay and things like that. Like, she took it really hard there at first. And at one point, she thought it was because she really wanted a baby girl and they had a girl name picked out and everything. And that's why I was gay, was because that's what she wanted. I was like, that's not it, mama. But then she'd be like, she asked how do you know? And I didn't know how to say it. I just went, One Tree Hill. The whole reason we started watching it was because I thought Chad Montgomery was hot. So that's why I started tuning into that show, was because I was like, Chad Michael Murray is hot. He was in the Lone Ranger right before that. He was shirtless, tons of abs. I was like, yep, all for it. So, and he was in Dawson's Creek with, that last season 5.
Yeah, so, I'm just trying to think about, you were 24 when you came out?
Yes.
I'm just trying to think about how old I was and where I was in my life at that point. Because I'm 2 years older than you. What year was that?
So after that, we didn't really talk much for like 6 months. It was and I still lived at home because I was in grad school. but I stayed a lot. Like I hung out with my friends a lot. I was kind of nervous to go home but we slowly just, my friends were very supportive and helped me text to my mom. And now we're at a good place. But there, for a while, there was times she'd even ask, "Are you sure you're not just bisexual?" For some reason, it's weird. But being bisexual, if you're gay, if I was to say I'm bisexual, it's easier for some of my family members.
Oh, there's hope. Maybe it's just a
Yes,
phase.
maybe I'll just find a girl and I'll marry her and it's just a phase. I was like, Mom, and I just finally said, I have kissed multiple girls. Nothing. Nothing. And then that finally stopped. So
Yeah, my grandmother would say, are you sure? Maybe you're confused, which used to piss me off. Um,
oh well,
it came to a boiling point where we got into a huge fight and didn't have any luggage, but I literally took like giant black garbage bags, put all my crap in there, and like moved out.
I don't know if you're from a religious family. Did you ever get, well, why don't you pray about it? Maybe you can, like to.
But I'm sure my grandmother prayed about it.
I think someone in my family was like, well, we'll pray for, we'll pray. I was like, I have been praying since I could pray that I would not be gay. If God didn't answer my prayers, why is he going to answer your prayers about it? Because I used to love, as a kid, I loved going to church. I really did. A lot of people are like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, no, I used to really love just going to church, being around the people. But as I got older, and that I feel like they could sense that I wasn't what they thought was acceptable. Okay. I started to get kind of like outcast, and I stopped going to church because I got tired of the stairs or things like that. And I was like, man, I'm trying to actually learn. Like they were showing me what the bad side of how Christians could be, not accepting and things like that. So, and I hated that because I used to love going to church.
When I moved out after that fight, I think subconsciously I was like, I'm gonna move out before she has a chance to throw me out. Like, I'll show her. And I moved in with my first boyfriend at the time, and we had only been dating for 2 months.
Well, that's like a lot. That's like 10 years in gay land, right?
And within a year, I was back at my grandmother's with a boyfriend. So we both moved back in. And then the rest is history. Everything's just been fine with my family. I never told my mom either. But I vividly remember a phone conversation where I just flat out was like, oh yeah, I just said my boyfriend, like maybe saying if she would react, and she didn't. We just never had a conversation about it. Mm-hmm. But I know she knows because of that. She's met my boyfriends. She's been to gay prides. She's even gone to gay bars with me. So she knows. I'm
not sure if my mom's ready for gay pride or anything. I mean, she's very accepting and has no problem with anything like that. And actually, since then, we've had some more coming out stories in my family.
Oh.
I was like, y'all's trying to steal my spotlight. One time I have something that makes me unique in this family. One time. And you can't even let me have it.
I can't have one thing.
I can't have one thing. This is why we can't have nice things, because I can't have one nice thing. But I remember I had a cousin who, when I was younger, she would say things like, we should just put all the gay people on an island. That would fix everything. But how she was raised and everything was very strict Christian. But when I told her sister that I was gay first, like she's like, oh my gosh, why couldn't you? She felt awful because she felt like, and she still tells me, I'm so sorry that I felt that way, because she's like, I feel like you should have been able to tell me. She hated that I lived in that closet for so long alone. She's like, you probably felt so alone. I was like, I did. I had a nice closet. It was cute. I decorated it, made it really homey. But yes, it was lonely. So, and she is very, like, she's raising her kids to be very accepting and different, like she's had some down in the South. We still have some, we still racist. So like when her daughters date, like she doesn't care who her daughters dates as long as they're happy, safe, and all that. And she's had to have a talk like, all right, if you date someone who might be different skin color or might be female, in the South, you're going to have to understand that not everyone's going to be so accepting. So she wants to prepare them so they're strong. And she's like, but don't let anyone tell you you can't live that, you can't do what you want. So I've loved seeing her like open up. Whereas her sister, who I actually came out to, I feel like has not been accepting and everything.
Oh, really?
Or just has kind of like, oh no. It's hard to explain.
But yeah, once we got past like that first 6 months to a year, that's pretty much it. And I kind of just, from my experiences of being out and dating, and I kind of just developed this I don't give a fuck who knows attitude.
Oh, me too.
It's just stuck with me for the last, I guess it's been 15, 16 years now.
However, I will say my first job, I was nervous for them to find. It was South Arkansas, and South Arkansas is very different than North Arkansas. And I was so scared for them to know. And I thought that like there are times where I'm like, oh, okay, they're accepting, but then I'd find out, no, if you're a gay guy, but you seem straight and can pass for straight, that's okay. But if you're more like feminine or just not cis white man, it's less accepted.
I wasn't out at my first job, but that was when I was when I was going through the process. And after I left there, I've been at it every job since.
See, that job made me realize a lot of things about myself. I'm not hiding who I am, and I'm not caring what people think about me, because that job treated me poorly, pushed me out, and I gave my life for that job. And then I'm looking at it like, wait, if I was family, but you'll just let me go like that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other job will do that too. I was like, so no job is more important than your well-being, your happiness, and things like that. So,
well, I've been at this job for 13 years now.
Whew.
And I've come out on interviews. I've been like, I'm gay. Is that a problem? Because I don't want to work for a dentist that feels uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I also don't want to deal with coworkers whispering behind my back, is he or is he, like, oh, he's gay, like he's totally gay. So I just get it out of the way right away, and then there's nothing to talk about. You can't whisper behind my back if you know.
I wish I could look my social media would probably tell a very interesting story. Like 10 years ago, because we had social media 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Different, but it'd be like, ooh, scared. Rainbow flags, gay, just boom, queerness, just boom, boom, boom. But my funniest thing coming out though was my first boyfriend, which was my first love, my first everything. He was Muslim. So I brought home this Muslim boy to this very conservative Republican Christian family. And I remember like my mom being like, let's not tell, we won't tell Nana. Like my mom didn't care because he lived with us. She didn't care. But it was like, Nana, like let's wait to tell Nana. And then one time I think my Nana said something, I don't think she realized what she was saying, but she said something about Muslim people. And my mom was just like, Kyle's Muslim, right? And that just, after that, never said another word. Oh. And my grandmother's very lovely. She's a wonderful person, but just grew up in a different time and things like that.
Different time, part of the country she's in.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a whole podcast right there. Just so.
But yeah, so that's all the news for me.
But I remember too one time after I come out to my grandparents and everything. My mom was sitting at some kind of church function with my aunt and a cousin, and she just said, "Aaron's gay." And I was like, "You told them?" She's like, well, I figured we might as well just go ahead and do it. So then next thing I know, my mom was outing me to family members, not in a mean way, not mean or hurtful, just be like kind of a proud way, like my son's gay. You either like it or you either accept it or you ain't gonna be part of our lives.
My grandmother kind of went through different phases. She went through a nobody needs to know what goes on in your bedroom phase. And then this is kind of where she's at right now. If somebody asks her, she's like, "Yeah, he's gay. Why? What's up?" Like,
Well, my mom has grown a lot too, because when that Pulse shooting happened,
mhm,
I told her, I was like, I bought one of the shirts that was like the heart with the no hate thing, because I wanted to do some kind of support to help, which I know
yeah.
that's very little on the scale of probably things I could have done. But my mom, it made my heart just like feel so good. She's like, you know what? Get me one of those. I'll wear it to work. And if anyone says anything, I'll be like, fuck you. I was like, oh, mom, yay. And then when we went to this Pride Festival, I told her, oh, I got these 2 shirts. You know, it has like, says the Pride. She's like, oh, did you get me one? I went, no, I didn't know you'd want one. I was like, but you can have one of mine. She went, no, it's okay. I was like, oh, like she's come such a long way. So
That's good to hear.
yeah.
But yeah, that's my story.
Yeah, that's
I've just been living my truth for the past 17 years.
and I feel like in the last couple of years, I have been living a like more my life. Not
Another year or two, and I will have been out just as long as I was in the closet. It'll be half and half.
I've been out 10 years. That's crazy to think I've been out 10 years. Almost 11. Ooh, that makes me feel old. Man, if I could only talk to myself then.
Yeah, right.
If I could talk to 5-year-old Aaron, I'd be like, don't you be scared. People are going to be mean to you and call you mean things. And even when you're exercising one day, someone may drive by and yell fag, but it's okay because it won't bother you because you'll be like, at least they didn't say fat.
Oh, please. I still get whistles sometimes if I'm walking or whatever. And now I'm just like, hey, daddy. Like, I shout back at them.
I don't think I'm
And then
there.
they're all like, because they don't expect that. So they're like, oh.
I don't think I'm there yet. I need to get there. I need to get to your level.
Well, I am in New York, like you said.
This is fun. It's always fun to learn. Like everyone has such a different story when it comes to coming out. And I always tell, I've had some friends or people that have worked for me that have come out to me. And I'm like, oh, you feel like, I'm so glad they feel like they can come to me and come out because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
And even today in the South, it's even still hard to come out, especially if you're trans or just anything that's not just that, the gay or lesbian. Like if you could, like I have a friend that just told me recently they were trans, and I was just so happy they could tell me because I'd known that like they'd worked for me for a few years, and I was like, oh, I wish you could have talked to me sooner. Like I don't know if maybe they just didn't feel comfortable or if it's because they grew up in a very Christian family as well, and
you
scared,
can't out somebody. People need to come out on their own terms.
Oh yeah,
timeline, and it's not fair to out somebody because you could do more damage than good.
That's what I always when they told me. This one of my who had been a resident of mine was like, I'm bisexual. It's like, please don't tell no one because I haven't. I was like, oh no, that is not mine to tell. That is, that is for you to do when you're ready, comfortable. I was like, I won't do that. I've been there, and no.
Yeah, I definitely was lucky. I definitely had one of the better experiences. Not to take away from what I went through, because everybody goes through their inner turmoil, and it was scary, but I know people who really had it rough. And I know that I was lucky.
Oh, I did too. I was very gay blessed to come to that. Because I could have had it a lot worse, especially being in the South.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, that's it.
That's my
story.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. And if you want to share your coming out stories with us, send me a message or just talk to us on my Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Just let us know what your coming out story was. And thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.